Alright, I promised a lot of students I will make a video about domain and range of function for them. So yeah, here I go. So I hope this video actually can help the student understand about what is domain and what is function. And you go to the inverse functions like what is their new domain and new new range. Alright, so yeah, so I just try to make this video short and then I will give with like 3 past year questions. So I hope you can understand from the past year question as well. Alright, and this video basically is for MF and mostly will be asked in the IGCSE syllabus. Some might ask in A level, but I made this video basically for GCSE, IGCSE, or any Cambridge exam under CIE board. Alright, so let's have a look on the video. Alright, so first thing is you have to understand what is the meaning for domain and range. So I will just give you a very quick example. So let's say I have a graph over here. Okay, so yeah, just make sure my x-axis right nicer. I have a graph over here and this one is x and y. So from here, let's say my graph is look like this. Alright, so this one I randomly give it a value. Maybe I can say this is 3 to 6, and then this one over here it might be 2. Okay, so when we say domain actually we mean for the range on x-axis, right? And we say range actually is mean the range for y-axis. Okay, this one is specific on function topic. If you go into the statistic topic, it might have some other meanings, right? So in the case over here, so let's say when I say domain, actually I means here, because you can find out this straight line, the x value is only from 3 to 6, isn't it? So domain will use x to represent it, so it's between 3 to 6. So this is what we call domain. Okay, so when I say range I mean the graph, what is the height for this graph from y-axis. So basically range is over here. Here is 0, isn't it? So range is basically from 0 to 2. But range, how do we write range? So if this graph over here is y equals to fx, then you can say range using the y means it's between 0 to 2. Or if you want to use f, you can use function is between 0 to 2. Both will give you the correct answer. So this is what we call range. Okay, so over here I hope you at least you can understand about what is domain and range. So domain means the curve is means the straight line is from the x-axis over here, so you can just see like how far is the domain and range. Right, so definitely I love to give you more example to give you some idea about what is domain and range, because understand the idea is like quite important. Okay, so example, if I have the modulus graph over here, let's say over here this is 7, and then over here this is 9. Okay, and then this is 3 or 2, it doesn't matter, and this one maybe is 4. Okay, this is a random number I just make up. This modulus f equals to y equal fx, and you should know this one, it should be the something like modulus graph, right? So yeah, you will see a V graph over here. So in this case, okay, if I want to find the domain from 0 to 9, so let's say this is my domain is from 0 to 9. So oops, what am I writing? No, it's not. Domain we use x to represent it, so it's from 0 to 9. Then my range over here is might be from here to here, because your whole graph is within this range, isn't it? Your whole graph is within this range. So this range is basically from 0, you can say y is between 0 to 7, because your maximum here is 7 and the minimum here is 0. Alright, but what if I change the domain a little bit? Okay, so let's say I will randomly make up some number over here, because I just like make it up myself. So let's say Okay, let's say over here, this is 7, and then I will actually get 4. Okay, now if I change my domain from here, if I change my domain from 7 to 9, so now I say my domain is from 7 to 9, and then I ask you about what is my range. So 7 to 9 basically is this area, isn't it? So your range will change also. That means your range now is basically from 4 to 7. So your range will change into 4 to 7. Because if your domain change, mean you only want this part of the graph. Okay, the idea is you only want this part of the graph. Since you want this part of the graph is from 7 to 9, you have to know what is their y value. So the very important idea is, in order to find the domain and range, sometime in IGCSE, most of the time you have to get the coordinate. Means when x equals to 7, what is my y value? When x equals to 9, what is my y value? Alright, so okay, just like one more example before I go into the past year question. So let's say you want to find the let's say you want to find the domain for quadratic graph. Okay, you will see something like U, or you can see something like N. Okay, I just like use more example. Okay, if let's say the minimum coordinate over here I tell you is basically like 3 and -2, and then alright, so and then I will tell you the x must bigger or equals to 3. So bigger or equals to 3 means what? It means if this line is 3 here, this line is x equals to 3, means they only want this part of the graph. So this part of the graph, this one is definitely is domain because it starts with x. So the question asks you what is the range for this graph. So you can find out range is from -2, if here is -2 because the -2 here, go until infinity, isn't it? So I would just say, if this is fx, I will just say f must be bigger or equals to -2. Okay, so same ideas happens to the this one. Let's say this one, I say this is 3, 5. Alright, then I can randomly tell you anything. I can say maybe my domain is like x must be bigger or equals to 3. Same case. So that's mean right now I only want to have this part. So I know it's actually it will from 5 here go down to infinity, isn't it? So I will say my range is less or equals to 5, because any value below here must be less than 5 because maximum is already 5. So this is how the range and domain means in the function topic. Alright, yeah, one more thing before I forget is the inverse thing. Okay, so something you must really understand about that is about range and domain in inverse function. I just use a very simple example. If I have a curve look like this, let's say this is 2, and then the maximum here maybe is 3. Okay, if this is fx, now I want to draw a f inverse. So the f inverse basically it will just reflection on the line y equals to x. It will just reflection on this line, something like y equals to x. So that means you will actually need to draw another reflection over here. Okay, so this one I call it f inverse. So let's go back to the f first. So for f here, if I want to write the domain of f, so what I can know, the domain is only from 2 onward go up to go to infinity. So I can say my x is basically bigger or equals to 2. Okay, this is the information I have over here. And then the range over here, it seems like it won't go beyond 3. So I can say my range of f is basically is I can say maybe in this curve is from 0 to 3. You can see the range is over here for the curve f. Is let's say I just give you a range is between 0 to 3. Alright, so now we go into the inverse. Okay, inverse, first thing I will do the domain thing also, because they are reflection. So definitely you can guess this value should be 3. Alright, so therefore I know the domain of f inverse. What I can know is basically it will from 0 to 3. So I can say the domain is basically is from 0 to 3. And if I want to find the range of f inverse, so range of f inverse mean the y. So definitely because this is reflection, this one start at 2 here, this one you need to start at 2 here because the distance here need to be the same. So I can only know the f inverse over here must be bigger or equal to 2. And something I want you to pay a very good attention over here is you can literally find out that the domain of f is very similar to the range of f inverse. And the range of f is very similar to the domains of f inverse. So because they always reflection on the line y equals to x, so this is the reason why to make them like so similar. Of course they have some different. You can find out their value actually is the same. So you can see this one is basically 0 to 3. This is 0, 3 as well. Just the difference is domain we always use the x to represent it, and range of f we will use f to represent it. Range for f inverse I will use f inverse to represent it. So domain is always using the x. And then you realize that the domain of f over here, this is 2, this one is just 2. So therefore we sort of come out a conclusion here. So you just like remember things like this. So like domain, okay, so the domain of f, okay, just short form. Okay, so the domain of f is basically equals to the range of f inverse. Okay, so if range of function f, this f is a function f, will equals to the domain of f inverse. Okay, so maybe I use other colors to represent the f. So f and so domain of f basically will same with the range of f inverse. Range of f inverse, and range of f will same with the domain of f inverse. So this is what I'm trying to mean. Like, okay, so next time if you see the domain of f telling you is x is bigger than 2, and then the question will straight away ask you what is the range of f inverse. So you should know domain of f is same with the range of f inverse, because this is f inverse, a lot of students might just straight away copy the whole thing, and then you will got wrong. Because what? Because the f inverse range you must start using f inverse word. So you cannot write like this. You have to write f inverse must be equals to 2. Or the same case. So the question might give you the range of f, and then the question might ask you about what is the domain of f inverse. Since you have the range already, you know the domain of f inverse basically will be same with the range of f, isn't it? So you shouldn't straight away copy the thing, but you can copy the symbol and the value. So this one will be 3 and 0. But then domain will start with x, right? So I will write x. Then you will get the 1 mark and 1 mark only. Normally if the question asks like this, it just gives you 1 mark each. Alright, so okay, now I guess we can go into the past year question. Okay, let's have a look on the first one. Okay, this one actually I skipped some. Yeah, if you go to check out this question, the first part actually they ask you to do a completing square, something like that. But because I want to save space and save some time, so I will just skip the completing square and I will do it as quick as possible. So in this case, you will have a quadratic equation. So the quadratic equation, most of the time you couldn't use a substitution method. Some same with the modulus function. But anyways, you can try to understand it. Okay, so if the question asks you to find the range of f, so what I will do for, if it's quadratic, right? First step you must bear in mind is like, you must keep in mind the first step is always do the completing the square. Because only you do the completing the square, then only you can know about the maximum or minimum coordinates. Then only you can find the so-called range of or domain. It's easier to finding from there rather than just a big equation like this. Alright, so I will just do the completing the square very fast here. So this is x, this is 6 divided by 2 will be 3, so it plus 3 square. And then minus 3 square. So I minus 3 square plus 4. So basically I will get x plus 3 square minus 9 plus 4 minus 5. Alright, so this is my fx. So because this one, the value in front here is positive 1, so I know this one is a U graph. And then I know my minimum coordinate here should be -3 and -5. So if the question, the part 1, the question asks me about range of fx, range of f. So basically, I can easily know this is, since -5 is the minimum value for y already. So I know my y should be, I know my curve must be go bigger or equals to -5. Because this one is the minimum, this is y equals to -5, and then so my graph actually will go up. Okay, if this is f, obviously this is fx. Right, so this is, I guess it's just maybe 1 or 2 marks. And then the second part, the question asks you to find the f inverse. Definitely, I want to tell you the f inverse I will not cover here, but f inverse for quadratic, right? You have to do the completing the square, then only you can do the f inverse. If you straight away do the f inverse from this equation, you will get stuck because there's no way you can make x as a subject. So remember, whenever you have a quadratic equation, the question asks you to do the inverse function, make sure you change it into the completing the square form first, then only you will do the f inverse. But anyway, here I want to cover is the domain. So in order, because even you have the f inverse equation, there's no way you can know the domain unless you remember what I said just now. I say the domain of f inverse, just now I said the domain of f inverse is actually the same with the range of f. So if you understand and remember about this thing, so I can, of course in the exam you shouldn't write this lah. This one I just some short form I write here. So I will just copy what is my domain of f. You see the f here? This is the domain because it starts with x. Okay, so state the domain. Oh sorry, it asks you to state the domain. So state the domain, basically you have to copy the range. This is a range. Okay, so range is over here, but then now you write in the domain, right? So I will just change the f into x. That's all. 1 mark. Because the domain of f inverse is same with the range. This is a range of fx, isn't it? Yeah, so just copy everything and then change, because domain I say use x, range we use f or use y. Alright, so let's have a look on the next question. Okay, this is another, this is 2016 Majun paper 1.1 or 1.3, and then you have a square root graph. Okay, whenever you see the graph like square root or e exponent or power x graph, you don't need to worry so much. This kind of graph is very easy to get the domain and range, because this kind of graph, they only go one direction. Means you can easily know, okay, if my range is my domain is from A to B, as long as I can find this value over here, I can know my range easily. It's like, it will actually is like from x to y. So this one will be my range, and this one will be my domain. Okay, so this is basically the idea. Same thing, the E graph actually look like this. And then you have something like 2 power of x graph is always look similar like this. This is not the same with the U or in U or modulus graph, it's not the same. So normally for this kind of question, it's quite easy to get the range and domain. But of course I will explain further about what do I mean by quite easy over here. So the first thing I will do over here is, the question basically give me the domain. The domain is from -5 to 0. But over here you need to pay attention is, you find out this symbol have the equal sign and this symbol do not have the equal sign. So this is something you need to pay attention at. So So of course the first thing is the question asked me to write down the range of f. So I will just try to sub the -5 into here because I want to find when x equal to -5 what is my f or what is my y value. Okay, so I will do something like this, f -5, and then we'll just sub into this one, and then you can see I will actually get 5 minus -5 plus 5, this is square root 0, so I will get 2. Okay, then I will try to find the other one, which is f0, because I have -5 and 0 here. So this is 2 minus 0 plus 5 is just 5. Alright, now I get these two values. So how do I write down my range over here? So, okay, -5 here transform to the 2 here. And then it's have the equal sign, you have to follow back. And then now, one of the things you have to determine is which one is smaller. So 2 or 2 minus 5, which value is smaller? Because you have to choose a largest value here, smaller value you have to write on the other side. So obviously this is smaller. Right, I hope you can easily see that because this is 2 minus some other value. So I know this value will be bigger and this value have the equal sign. So I will write it here with the equal sign. And this is smaller, right? So smaller, I will write this one because the small 0 here does not have the equal sign here. I have to follow back exactly the same. This is 2 minus 5. So this is what they call range. I guess this one they will give you 2 to 3 marks because you have some things to do. Okay, so this is the answer for part 1. So because whenever you see square root graph or E graph or ln graph, so I will call it ln graph or log graph, you can always do like this lah. Just sub in the value. But of course we always have exceptional in MF. So but you don't need to worry about so much because the loss of graph is out of my knowledge. If even you straight away ask me to draw out about this graph, it's a bit hard for me also. Alright, so anyways, then he asked you to do the F inverse. I assume all of you can do the inverse function, but over here I want to teach you about the domain and the range. Okay, so the domain over here for F inverse are off because for F inverse this one is state is domain, so this domain is for and range is for F inverse. So over here, if I want to do the domain of F inverse, so basically domain of F inverse will equals to the range of F. So if same with the range of F, my range of F is over here, isn't it? Exactly, this is range. So the domain I will use X, then I copy the whole thing. 2 minus 5. Done. This one is, of course in the exam you should write like this lah. You just write like this. It will be pretty nice. And then the same thing, okay, this is part 2, the first one, domain, and then the question also asks you to find the range. So you know range of F inverse should be equals to the domain of F, isn't it? Okay, this one is just I write out for you to see. In the exam, don't write it out. So yeah, so range of F is over here, but then this is domain of F is over here. So you will need to write in the range, right? So use back this one. Don't copy the whole thing. Alright, so use back the F inverse. And then this one should be between -5 to 0. Okay. Oh yeah, it's correct. And copy exactly the same, especially those like equal sign or no equal sign. Just change the middle one. Just remember this. Okay, so yep. So let's have a look on the last example. Okay, this one. Okay, this question, fx is actually 3e power of 2x, where for x is bigger or equal to 0. So when you see x is bigger or less or something like this, first thing come into your mind, this is the domain, okay? Because somehow you will use it. And then this one, okay, this is domain of f, and then this one will be the domain of g because it's gx. Okay, so write down the range of f and g. Alright, so for this one, the E graph actually is quite simple because E graph is basically going one direction like this lah. So since you want to know about the range, so what I would do is quite simple. So because it's 0 here, isn't it? So I will just substitute 0 into my x here. So I will 3e to power 0. So e power of 0 is 1, so this is 3. So I can know my range for f must be, because this one is bigger or equal to 0, right? So it's just bigger equals to 3. Of course, if you use the graph calculator, you will see something like this lah. It will be 3 over here. And then your graph is from 3 here, go up to infinity. So yeah, this is what happens if you use the graph calculator. Okay, anyways, it didn't go until so difficult because some students just cannot visualize the graph. Then how can they do? So it's very easy. You see the domain, you just copy whatever value here. If this is less than, then you just change this one into a less than. Alright, so let me write it nicely again. So therefore, I can say f is bigger or equals to 3. Okay, because yeah, this is how we do this one. I guess it's just 1 mark. And then for second one, they ask you to find a range of g. Range of g over here, you should know this is complete a square form already. So you can easily know your minimum. This is minimum because over here is positive 1. Your minimum coordinate basically is -2 and 5. So you know this graph, the range should be 5 and above, isn't it? So I can say my g must be bigger or equals to 5. Oops. Nope, it's wrong. Because this question have the range here. So we shouldn't do like this yet. Okay, so yeah, I will show you why I say it's wrong. Okay, so -2 and 5. -2 and 5 is somewhere here. Okay. So I will have a graph maybe look like this. Okay, so since this is -2 and this is 5 here. So I assume here should be somewhere 5 here, and then here should be somewhere -2 here. Okay, and this is a G graph. Right, so but the question 1, when x is bigger or equals to 0. When x equals to 0, we know this one actually means y-axis, isn't it? Means what? Means, okay. This is 0. I need to know what is this value first. So what I will do is I will just substitute the 0 into the g, like just now. So this is 0 plus 2 is 2 square plus 5. So this is 9. So definitely this value here is 9. So my graph should be from 9 go until infinity. Okay, because yeah, x must be bigger or equals to 0. This line is 0. If this is y-axis, then this line is x equals to 0. So bigger means going this way, right? So your curve actually only this part. They only want this part. So I can say my g must be bigger or equals to 9. Okay, if the question doesn't give me this domain, then I will write my answer just now. I will, from the minimum here, I will write g is bigger equals to 5. If the question doesn't give domain. But if the question do give domain, yeah, you have to pay attention on it. Alright, so okay, if you can understand, then we go to the last part, and then find the g inverse. So I guess you can do g inverse since we have some time. So maybe I just show you how to do the g inverse. You let gx equals to y, and then you know x basically equals to g inverse y. Okay, this one you use it later and start from here. Gx equals to y, so basically I will have a y equals to x plus 2 square plus 5. Then I want to make x as a subject, so this is y minus 5. Move the 5 here, and then move the square here, it becomes square root, and then move the plus 2 here, become minus 2 equals to x. And what is my x? My x basically is g inverse, right? So I will write y minus 5 minus 2 equals to g inverse y. Yeah, done. So if you want to write nicely in terms of x, you just write this one, change all the y into the x lah. Then you can easily get the inverse function. And then the question basically asks you to state its domain. I said g inverse domain will same with the range of g, isn't it? So what is the range of g? Is over here. So I can say that therefore the domain must be bigger or equals to 9. Just copy the whole thing, just change range, because you want domain, change into the x. Then you can get full mark for this kind of question. So I hope after this video, at least you can understand about what is range and domain in function, especially in MF. Yeah, and then why is the range will equal to domain equal to range? You will see I say this one so many times in this video because I want you to remember, and also because it's reflection on the line y equals to x. So this is how they make this happen all the time. Okay, anyways, I hope you really benefit from this video, and all the best for your coming soon exam. And if you still have any question or opinion, just let me know either on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook. If you really like this video, please help me to share it out to all your friends and share out my channel and my Facebook page also. Anyways, thanks for watching. I love you. I hope you like it. Bye bye.